Welcome back, viewers. We're here another day. If you were tuned in last week, you would have seen that we got the car to start. It won't stay running. I have a thought on that, and that's what I want to try and jump into today and try and fix that issue. There are still a couple more odds and ends or smaller pieces or other pieces in general that need to be taken care of. What we're going to focus on today is trying to get this engine to stay running, and then possibly install the tachometer so we can monitor it. So thanks for tuning in to New Yankee Auto Systems. This is episode 21 of our Street Legal Legends car build, Petty Chevy. The first order of business into diving back into trying to figure out why this engine will not stay running is to remove the hood, hook the battery back up, and just simply try and start it again. The vehicle does run for a short amount of time if I mess around with either the choke system or the throttle system. However, after a certain amount of time, it just shuts off, or if I do something too much, it'll shut off as well. So far, this is a very common occurrence for this vehicle. Once I've gotten it running for a little bit, it'll fail to want to start again. So what my thought is, either the fuel pump is overpowering the carburetors or something else isn't right with that system there. My thought is that it's actually the throttle stop on the bottom of the carburetors. I believe that needs to be adjusted. However, I can't easily access it, so I was trying to just troubleshoot and see what was going to happen here if I could get it to start again. Did run before, but that's why we're here. Eventually the carburetors did fully seat. I have done this process before, and I am being careful to use a rubber mallet and a block of wood so that everything will kind of push in evenly. What I did before, as you can see in the lower left hand corner, I used my heat gun to expand the rubber seals, and then I just used my rubber mallet and block of wood to tap it into place so that everything would fully seat. Again, the seals on this carburetor is very tight. It just takes some persuasion. I had only set basically a base adjustment on the throttle stop, just somewhere where I thought it would work well. Obviously, it still isn't operating correctly, and here I was just showing you where the throttle stop is. You're not really going to be able to see me adjust it much. It was quite the pain to adjust this. Eventually, I was able to get both my hands in there. Once the screw was loose, I was able to turn it by hand, and eventually, I did get the engine sorted to where it would stay running. Now that I was able to get the engine to stay running, even if it was at a high idle, this is when I was going to start adjusting the throttle stop. What was happening before is that the throttle stop was completely closed and essentially had no throttle to it. That's why it would only run with more throttle input from the cable. At this point, it's just a fine-tuning adjustment. There's not really much of it that you're going to be able to see me do. Okay, so now I've got the car running for a little bit at least. I didn't let it run too long. What I had thought seems to have been the case. The throttle stop for the carburetors was completely open. Essentially, there was no throttle without throttle input. Makes complete sense compared to the symptoms that we were having. It wouldn't stay running unless you gave it some throttle. So I've got it to a bit lowered RPM. I didn't let it run too long because it either has an oil leak or it had oil on the headers that needs to burn off. However, I also didn't want to let it run too long without the tachometer hooked up so I could see exactly what RPM it was, so I can actually start working on setting a correct idle. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to read the instructions on the tachometer. I'm going to do my best to try and figure out exactly how it works. Never installed an aftermarket tachometer before, so another first, another new skill. So I'm going to go ahead and read through that, and once I'm ready to get it installed, I'll be back with you then. I had read through the instructions for the tachometer, consulted some forums as to how to hook it up to the Legends card, because unfortunately this tachometer is not specific for this engine or this application. So I did my best to understand it, and once I felt I had a good understanding of how everything was supposed to be hooked up, I started to mock up where I was going to place the tachometer. Ultimately, I decided I wanted the tachometer central in your vision, so here I am mounting it directly above the steering wheel, which is most central in the car. Thanks for staying with us so far. There's not too much further to go, but now that the tachometer is installed, let's focus on the wiring. Now, to get the wiring through the firewall, I utilized this already existing wire hole with grommet. The green wire is going to be for the RPM signal pickup for the tachometer, and the black is going to be used as a good engine ground. I needed to make an extension wire going from the wiring in the tachometer down to the engine ground, so I started with a female spade on the wiring for the tachometer. I then joined the two together with a male spade, which was connected to the extension wire, which ended up terminating in a ring terminal to my good engine ground. I wrapped everything with heat shrink. I don't think I'm going to have to disconnect this at any time soon. I just wanted to make sure it was weatherproof. Once I was adding the engine ground, I ended up back in the same wire loom that I've messed with countless and multiple times before. I promise this is going to be the last time that I do it. There were a couple of other connections that I wanted to make better and just generally clean up the whole harness section here better. I feel I've finally done that and called this section up for wraps for good.
Now that I have all that wiring sorted out, it was time to actually test the tachometer. Currently you see it set at 5,000, which is the shift point. However, this tachometer I don't believe is reading correctly. It's not set up for a two-pulse system as in a motorcycle utilizes. It's set up for an automotive system. So I believe that the tachometer is actually reading half throttle right now. I may have to replace the tachometer or see if I get this one sent out to be recalibrated for a motorcycle application.
So thanks for making it to the end of the episode. There wasn't a whole lot that I dived into and showed everybody because I would have ran out of battery and footage because I spent countless amount of time on this wiring harness, redoing it even. So I hope you enjoyed the content that I did have for this episode. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Remember to like and subscribe to New Yankee Auto Systems, and also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/New Yankee Auto. My motto I'm coming up with is we're always doing something, so next week we're going to have something. But I've kind of gotten over all of my main hurdles for now. It's going to be going back through and making everything nice and finalizing a lot of stuff. So we might be coming to an end with this build series, I don't know yet. But stay tuned next week, because we're always doing something.